It's an ordinary afternoon at a local grocery store, nestled in a quiet corner of the city. The small community-focused store has a warm, welcoming vibe, shelves stacked with fresh produce, the soft hum of background music, and the steady flow of customers going about their shopping. The aisles are a mix of regulars and newcomers, and the employees, many of whom have worked here for years, greet everyone with friendly smiles. Among the shoppers, one person stands out, a familiar face in the crowd. Keanu Reeves, casually dressed in a simple jacket and jeans, strolls down one of the aisles. He's just like any other shopper here, picking up a few essentials. His low-key presence blends seamlessly into the store, but for those who happen to look up, there's no mistaking him. His friendly demeanor and unassuming nature draw the occasional glance, but Keanu seems to pay no mind, focusing on his list of items. The air is relaxed, and people chat quietly as they shop. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other, and there's a sense of familiarity that makes even a trip to the grocery store feel comfortable. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. That is, until a small family steps into the checkout line, and the quiet tension begins to build. Sarah, a young mother in her late 20s, stands with her two children at the register, looking stressed as the cashier scans their groceries. She checks her wallet once again, her eyes darting nervously between the items on the conveyor belt and the total on the screen. Her kids, oblivious to the mounting stress, hold onto the shopping cart, their faces bright with innocence. But the situation soon takes a turn when a well-dressed man behind Sarah in the checkout line begins making loud, pointed remarks. The store, normally a place of peace, begins to buzz with an uncomfortable energy. Keanu, still scanning the shelves nearby, notices the change. Something's wrong. Something isn't right. As Sarah continues to fumble with her wallet, trying to gather enough change, the man behind her sneers, casting judgment not just on the groceries, but on her ability to shop at all. He scoffs at her, making remarks loud enough for those around him to hear. The casual shoppers who were once in their own worlds now pause and turn their attention to the scene unfolding in front of them. And that's when Keanu notices. As Sarah continues to stand at the register, the tension begins to grow. She's doing her best to keep it together, but her fingers tremble as she counts out the small amount of cash she has left, trying to match it against the total on the screen. Her kids, unaware of the stress their mother is under, chat cheerfully among themselves, but Sarah's face shows the strain of a mother struggling to make ends meet. The cashier, though friendly, is starting to look a little impatient as Sarah pulls out a handful of change, trying to make the final adjustment. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispers as she continues to dig through her wallet. She can feel the eyes of the customers behind her, the weight of their gaze adding to her discomfort. The total keeps rising, and with each new scan of an item, Sarah's anxiety builds. Her mind races, she's running out of options. Then, the voice of the man behind her interrupts the stillness. He sneers audibly and mutters to his companion, "Really? Can't even afford groceries, but they're still out here buying stuff they can't pay for." His words cut through the air, loud enough for the people nearby to hear. Sarah's face flushes a deep red, and she looks down, trying to avoid eye contact with anyone. She's ashamed, but there's no way out. The cash is all she has, and it's just not enough. The man doesn't stop there. He makes more comments, each one harsher than the last, making it clear that he thinks Sarah shouldn't be shopping here at all if she can't afford it. His words sting, and Sarah's eyes well up with tears, though she does her best to hold them back. The moment feels suffocating. Keanu, standing at the end of the aisle, watches the interaction unfold. He can't help but notice the look of frustration and defeat on Sarah's face, the humiliation she's clearly experiencing. Something shifts within him. This is no longer just a random interaction. It's a moment that calls for action. Without a word, Keanu starts walking toward the checkout, his footsteps steady but measured. As he moves closer, the sound of his calm presence contrasts with the escalating tension in the store. His eyes never leave Sarah, and as he draws near, he knows exactly what he's about to do. The rude man's voice continues to echo across the quiet store, growing bolder with each passing moment. He's now openly mocking Sarah, chuckling under his breath as he glances at the people around him. "Unbelievable," he mutters. "Some people should know better than to shop like this. Maybe they should stick to cheaper stores if they can't even pay for a few groceries." A few people in line exchange uncomfortable glances, unsure of how to react. The atmosphere has shifted from the usual hum of grocery store sounds to one thick with awkward tension. The cashier, trying to maintain professionalism, begins to scan the last few items, but her movements are slower now, as though she too was uncertain how to handle the situation. Sarah, doing her best to keep it together, finally counts out the last bit of change and hands it to the cashier, her hands trembling. She looks at her kids, her face a mask of forced composure. Her eyes flicker briefly to the man behind her, his smirk widening as he watches her, seemingly enjoying the discomfort he's causing. It's then that Keanu arrives at the checkout. His tall, unassuming figure appears next to the man, who doesn't seem to notice him at first. Keanu stands there quietly for a moment, observing Sarah's struggle and the rude man's growing arrogance. The contrast between the calm, dignified Keanu and the belligerent customer is stark. The man finally notices Keanu standing beside him, and with a dismissive glance says, "What's this?" Another celebrity trying to play the hero. He laughs, expecting Keanu to shrug it off and move on, but Keanu doesn't flinch. Instead, Keanu speaks calmly, his voice carrying a steady authority. "Excuse me, but that's no way to treat someone," he says, his eyes now fixed on the rude man. The tone is not angry, but it's firm, carrying a weight that makes everyone around them pause. The man, caught off guard by the interruption, scoffs and turns to face Keanu. "What? You got something to say? You think you're better than me because you're in movies?" He gestures dismissively toward Keanu, but there's a nervous edge to his bravado now. Keanu stands his ground, his expression unwavering. It's not about movies. It's about treating people with respect. His words cut through the tension, forcing the man to reconsider his actions. For a moment, there's a beat of silence, Keanu's calmness creating a stark contrast to the man's brashness. Sarah, still standing at the register, looks up in disbelief. She's caught between embarrassment and a flicker of hope as Keanu stands up for her, his unwavering calm challenging the hostility that has made her feel small. The cashier and a few other shoppers nearby glance over, the room now thick with anticipation. No one knows how this will play out, but it's clear that Keanu isn't backing down. The rude man, now visibly taken aback by Keanu's unshakable calm, tries to regain control of the situation. His bravado falters, but he insists, "Oh, come on, man, I'm just telling it like it is. If people can't afford their groceries, they shouldn't be buying them." He crosses his arms, looking around as if trying to justify his words to the nearby shoppers, but his defensiveness only makes the situation more uncomfortable. Keanu's gaze remains steady, his demeanor calm yet filled with quiet authority. "You're right about one thing," Keanu says, his voice measured and clear. "Sometimes people face tough situations. But the way you're speaking, mocking, and judging someone, you're adding to their struggle. You don't know anything about her life, her circumstances. You don't get to decide what someone deserves." He pauses for a moment, letting his words settle in. The store around them feels like it's holding its breath. The crowd, who had been hesitant to intervene, now feels the weight of Keanu's words and begins to shift, some visibly uncomfortable with the man's earlier remarks. Keanu turns slightly to face Sarah, offering her a soft, reassuring smile. No one should ever feel like they're less than anyone else just because of what they can or can't afford, he continues. "We're all doing our best, and some days are harder than others. But everyone deserves respect." The rude man, still reeling from Keanu's calm rebuttal, tries to laugh it off. "You think you can just come in here and tell me how to talk? You're just a guy with a reputation. Who do you think you are?" Keanu's expression remains unchanged, but there's a subtle shift in his energy, as if he's done with the noise. He steps even closer to the man, not in a threatening way, but in a way that shows he won't be intimidated or dismissed. "I'm someone who believes in people, whether they're on a stage or in a grocery store. I'm just here to remind you that kindness matters. You don't have to agree with her life, but you do need to treat her with decency." The rude man hesitates, unsure of how to respond. He shifts uncomfortably, realizing that his words are no longer being met with defensiveness or outrage, but with an unwavering sense of principle. The moment of tension hangs in the air, and even the other shoppers nearby are now watching, silently rooting for the exchange to come to an end. Keanu looks back at Sarah, his voice softening. "And I think she's doing just fine. We all have struggles. Don't let anyone make you feel less than that." The weight of Keanu's words is undeniable. The store feels different now, quieter, more thoughtful. The rude man, now fully aware of his public embarrassment, doesn't speak again. He turns away, his shoulders slumping, and quietly walks off toward the exit. The confrontation is over, but the silence left in its wake speaks volumes. As the man leaves, Keanu gently turns to Sarah and smiles. You're good. Don't let him get to you. Sarah, visibly shaken but grateful, finally lets out a long breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Her eyes well up with tears, but she quickly wipes them away, not wanting to break down in front of anyone. She looks at Keanu, unable to find the words to express her gratitude. Her voice cracks slightly, but she manages a soft, thank you. Thank you so much. Keanu nods with a kind smile, his gesture simple yet profound. No problem. Just keep your head up. The tension that had once filled the store begins to dissipate, and as the transaction wraps up, Keanu quietly steps away. Having done more than just defend a stranger, he has shown everyone around that kindness and respect are powerful forces that can change the course of a moment. As the man walks away, there's a brief awkward silence in the store. The crowd is still processing what they've just witnessed. Keanu, with his calm but firm intervention, had not only defused a tense situation but had left everyone reflecting on their own actions. The atmosphere, which had once been filled with discomfort, slowly shifts to one of quiet admiration for Keanu's grace. However, before anyone can speak, the man, now standing at the store entrance, turns back. There's an uncomfortable tension in the air as he looks over his shoulder, his face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. He's not quite ready to let go of the situation, his pride stung, his ego bruised by the fact that he was so effortlessly silenced. He strides back toward the checkout, his voice rising in an attempt to regain some of the control he had lost. Hey, I don't need anyone preaching to me about kindness. You don't even know what it's like to struggle, do you? He says, now facing Keanu once more, trying to salvage his dignity. What do you think? You're some sort of hero? The other shoppers glance around, unsure if this man is looking for a fight or just trying to save face. Sarah, still holding her groceries, stands frozen for a moment, not knowing what will happen next. She's already overwhelmed by the support Keanu had shown her, and now the man's defiant response is only adding to the drama. Keanu, who has been standing quietly, watching the man's retreating form, doesn't flinch. His eyes meet the man's once more, his expression still calm, but there's a firmness in the way he stands that is impossible to ignore. The store is hushed, everyone waiting for the next words to come from either of them. With a steady, unwavering voice, Keanu responds, No, I don't know what it's like to be you, but I know what it's like to be human. His voice doesn't raise, but there's a quiet power in it that speaks louder than any argument could. I don't need to be a hero. I'm just someone who believes that no one should be torn down when they're already struggling. Maybe we should all be asking ourselves why we're so quick to judge others. The man, now visibly defeated, opens his mouth, but no words come out. The crowd around them holds its breath, watching the exchange unfold. The hostility that had been simmering in the air begins to evaporate as Keanu's words linger, cutting through the tension with ease. Realizing he's not going to win this battle, and that no one is going to back him up, the man scowls one last time, mutters something unintelligible under his breath, and storms out of the store. Keanu doesn't watch him leave. Instead, he turns to Sarah, who is still standing with her kids, her face a mixture of relief and gratitude. Keanu offers her a warm, reassuring smile. Don't worry about it, he says gently. People like that don't matter. As the man exits the store, the energy in the room changes. A ripple of quiet applause breaks out, first from a few individuals, then growing in strength as more people join in. It's not loud or boisterous, but there's an unmistakable sense of unity among the shoppers. Keanu's words had left a mark on everyone there, not just by confronting the rude man, but by showing that a calm, respectful approach can be the most powerful weapon in the face of unnecessary hostility. Sarah, still processing everything that just happened, finds her voice. I don't know what to say, she says softly. Thank you. You've done more for me than anyone ever has. Her eyes shine with gratitude. Keanu simply nods, his gaze warm but not seeking attention. You don't need to thank me. You're doing just fine. With that, Keanu pays for his groceries and quietly exits the store, leaving behind not just a change in the atmosphere, but a lasting impression of kindness, respect, and the power of standing up for what's right. As the door swings open behind Keanu, Sarah stands in stunned silence, her kids now clinging to her side, sensing the shift in the energy around them. The encounter had left her feeling both relieved and overwhelmed. She never imagined that something as simple as a trip to the grocery store would lead to such a profound experience. The applause from the small group of customers begins to fade, but Sarah is still standing there, lost in the moment. She can't help but glance at her kids, who, until a few moments ago, had been blissfully unaware of the stress and tension in the store. Their faces were now bright with smiles, the awkwardness of the situation melting away as they realized their mother's dignity had been restored. With her heart racing and tears welling in her eyes, Sarah turns to the cashier, who offers her a reassuring smile. "You okay?" The cashier asks kindly, her voice soft. "Ah, I can't believe that just happened," Sarah says, her voice shaking slightly. "I've been struggling so much lately. I never thought someone would step in like that, especially someone like him. I don't even know how to say thank you." The cashier gives her a knowing look, a little smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "You don't need to. I think we all saw what needed to be done." Sarah nods, trying to hold back the flood of emotions. Her kids, still not fully understanding the weight of the situation, are now happily talking to the cashier, excitedly pointing out the snacks they wanted. But Sarah's mind is elsewhere, on the stranger who, without hesitation, stepped in when she needed help the most. As the last of the customers filter out of the store, Sarah walks out with her children, her hands full of groceries, but her heart fuller than it's been in a long time. The weight of the humiliation that had settled over her just moments ago feels lighter, almost non-existent, in the wake of Keanu's intervention. For the first time in a long while, she feels like maybe, just maybe, things are going to be okay. Outside, the sun is beginning to dip below the horizon, casting a soft golden light across the parking lot. Sarah stops for a moment to take in the calmness around her, her kids chatting animatedly in the background. And then, without thinking, she pulls out her phone, not to check her messages, but to search for Keanu's social media accounts. She wants to know more about the man who had just shown her the most genuine kindness she'd ever known. As she searches, she can't help but think about the profound impact Keanu had, not just on her, but on everyone who witnessed that moment. His calm demeanor, his refusal to escalate the situation, and his words of kindness had silenced a man who thought he could belittle another human being without consequence. But Keanu had reminded everyone in that store of something fundamental, that kindness and respect can have the most lasting effect in the world. Meanwhile, Keanu, still a few steps ahead of Sarah as he walks across the parking lot, reflects on the moment he just left behind. It wasn't about making a scene or putting anyone down. It was simply about standing up for what's right when the situation called for it. And that, in Keanu's mind, was all that mattered. As he gets into his car, he glances back toward the grocery store, a quiet smile tugging at his lips. For him, this was just another ordinary day. But for Sarah, it would be a day she would never forget. Sometimes, it's the smallest acts of kindness that make the biggest difference. And in that moment, Keanu had proven that even the simplest gesture could change a person's day and their life. As Sarah gets into her car, still processing the overwhelming kindness she just experienced, she's barely aware of the gentle hum of the parking lot around her. Her children are excitedly discussing their favorite snacks, a small comfort amidst the chaos of the earlier situation. But even though the immediate tension is past, a sense of gratitude continues to swell within her. She pulls out of the parking lot and heads home, but her mind keeps replaying the moment when Keanu stepped in. It's not just that he defended her, it's the way he did it. His words weren't dramatic or condescending. He had treated her with the same quiet dignity and respect he'd shown the man who was belittling her. It was a rare and powerful kind of generosity, one that Sarah hadn't encountered often in her life. But as she turns the corner toward her home, Sarah's phone buzzes, pulling her out of her thoughts. She pulls over to check the message, unsure of who it might be from. To her surprise, the message isn't from a friend or family member. It's an email with the subject line, "Your grocery store encounter, a surprise from Keanu." Confused, she opens it, and what she reads takes her breath away. The email, seemingly sent by a member of the store's management team, thanks her for being a part of an incredible moment that happened earlier that day. The email goes on to explain that, unbeknownst to her, Keanu had paid for her groceries after their interaction. The store employee had quietly completed the transaction for Sarah while she was still in the checkout line, and Keanu had left without making a scene. The email also includes a heartfelt message from Keanu himself, which Sarah reads in disbelief. "I wanted to make sure you didn't leave that store feeling less than anyone else. Sometimes we all need a little reminder that we're doing our best, and that kindness is something we can all share. I hope this small gesture helps in some way." Sarah stares at the message for a moment, her eyes welling up once again, but this time with overwhelming gratitude. Keanu hadn't just stood up for her when she needed it most, He'd gone one step further by quietly making sure she didn't leave that store with the weight of embarrassment or financial stress on her shoulders. In that moment, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had been carrying the burden of feeling judged, of worrying that she wasn't doing enough for her family. But now, with this unexpected act of kindness, that weight had lifted. She could feel the difference, the kind of emotional freedom that comes from knowing that there are still people out there who will help without expecting anything in return. As she pulls into her driveway, she takes a deep breath and puts the car in park. She looks at her children, who are still chattering excitedly about the snacks they had picked out, and smiles. Today, she's not just grateful for the groceries. They weren't just a lifeline for her family. Today, she's grateful for Keanu's quiet generosity and the reminder that sometimes it's the unexpected moments that make all the difference. The sun sets behind her house, casting a soft glow over the evening. Sarah knows that the memory of today will stay with her forever. How one simple act of kindness from a stranger had restored her faith in humanity and reminded her that kindness, in the end, always comes back around. As the days pass, Sarah can't help but think about Keanu's act of kindness. She's been reflecting on it not just because of how it made her feel, but because of the impact it has had on her outlook on life. What began as a stressful trip to the grocery store had turned into something much deeper, a lesson in compassion, dignity, and humanity. Sarah's children, too, seem to sense the shift in her mood. They are more cheerful, their conversations lighter, and the tension that had previously clouded their home seems to have lifted. Even at the dinner table that evening, there's an ease in the air that hadn't been there in a while. The family begins to talk about things they hadn't talked about before, their hopes for the future, small dreams that had seemed too distant to chase. But it's not just Sarah's home life that's affected. Word begins to spread through her small community. She tells her close friends and family members about the incident at the store, about Keanu's intervention, and the unexpected gift of paying for her groceries. At first, some of them are skeptical, thinking it might be an exaggeration. But when Sarah shows them the email from the store, their expressions change to one of awe and admiration. In the days that follow, Sarah starts to notice something different in the people around her. Her neighbor, a single mother who has been going through a tough time herself, calls her up and shares that she, too, had witnessed a random act of kindness. Someone had paid for her coffee at a drive-thru. Another friend at work tells Sarah how someone in the parking lot had helped her load heavy bags into her car without asking for anything in return. These little moments begin to stack up, and Sarah starts to see a pattern, a ripple effect of kindness spreading throughout her community. Sarah, inspired by the kindness she received, decides to pass it forward. The next time she's in line at a coffee shop, she notices a young man struggling with his payment. It's a small amount, but she can see the hesitation in his eyes, much like she felt in the grocery store. Without a second thought, Sarah steps forward and covers his tab, smiling as she does. The young man, surprised and grateful, thanks her profusely. That evening, Sarah shares the experience with her children, explaining that kindness is contagious and how sometimes the smallest actions can change someone's day. Her kids are thrilled by the idea of paying it forward and excitedly start talking about ways they can spread kindness in their own way. They begin to make little crafts for neighbors, offer help to elderly relatives, and even give up their favorite toys to a local charity. The ripple effect doesn't stop there. At work, Sarah's coworkers begin to share stories of how they've been more mindful of others. They talk about holding the door open for strangers, offering a helping hand to someone struggling, or simply sharing a smile. Sarah reflects on how this all started with one person, Keanu Reeves, who didn't make a show of his generosity. Instead, he simply took action in the face of injustice, modeling the kind of compassion that everyone could emulate. What Keanu had done in the grocery store wasn't just a moment of kindness. It was a spark that set off a chain reaction, a reminder that kindness doesn't need to be grand to be powerful. Keanu may not ever know the full extent of his impact, but in Sarah's life, in her community and beyond, his quiet generosity had lit the way for a wave of compassion to spread further than she ever expected. Months pass, but Sarah can't help but think about how one small, seemingly ordinary interaction changed so much. The ripple effect of Keanu's quiet kindness has extended far beyond her own life, creating a wave of goodwill that continues to spread through her community. She still hasn't had any direct contact with Keanu since that day in the grocery store, but his impact is undeniable. Sarah now makes it a habit to go out of her way to help others, whether it's offering a kind word to someone having a bad day or paying for the coffee of the person behind her in line. Every small act of kindness feels like a tribute to Keanu, like she's carrying the torch of compassion he lit that day. But what Sarah doesn't realize is that her story has inspired many others as well. One day, a neighbor who had heard her share the story at a community event approaches her. "Sarah," he says, "I wanted to thank you for what you did for me last week. You helped me pick up my groceries when my back went out. I didn't expect that from anyone. You reminded me how small acts of kindness really matter. And I've decided to start giving back in any way I can too." Sarah smiles warmly, surprised to learn that her simple gesture had meant so much to someone else. But she knows now that this is exactly how kindness works. It multiplies. The ripple effect has even made its way to social media. Sarah posts a heartfelt message one day, expressing her gratitude for the unexpected kindness she received from Keanu. She writes about the way his actions encouraged her to spread love and positivity. The post quickly goes viral, with thousands of people sharing their own stories of kindness. People from all over the world reach out to Sarah, sharing how they too had been inspired by Keanu's act and how it had sparked changes in their own lives. Sarah begins to receive messages from people saying how they're making a conscious effort to spread kindness every day. One message reads, "Keanu's example showed me how simple acts of kindness can have a profound impact. I'm now more mindful of my words and actions. I started volunteering at a local shelter, helping others the way I wish I could have been helped during tough times." Through these messages, Sarah sees that Keanu's influence isn't confined to her small town, it's global. His actions have planted the seeds of kindness in so many people's hearts, and now those seeds are sprouting everywhere. One day, Sarah's kids come home from school, proudly holding up a small cardboard sign they made for the neighborhood. "Kindness is contagious. Spread it." They've decided to start their own neighborhood project to help people in need, including delivering groceries to elderly neighbors and helping kids with homework. Sarah can't help but smile, knowing that her children are carrying the message of kindness forward. Back at the grocery store, where it all began, things feel different. The employees who witnessed Keanu's act of kindness that day have noticed a change in the store's atmosphere. There are more smiles, more people helping one another. The manager of the store even reports that their customer feedback has improved. People are happier, and there's an undeniable sense of community among regular shoppers. And though Sarah has never seen Keanu again, the impact of his actions continues to affect her in ways she never could have imagined. What started as a single quiet moment in a grocery store has transformed her life, and the lives of countless others. Keanu may not have intended for his actions to have such a widespread effect, but he has unknowingly created a lasting legacy of kindness, reminding everyone that no good deed, no matter how small, goes unnoticed. Keanu Reeves' legacy wasn't just the characters he portrayed on screen. It was the way he lived off-screen, with integrity and compassion. In Sarah's heart, Keanu will always be a reminder that a single act of kindness can change the course of someone's day, and that it's never too late to start a ripple that can reach the farthest corners of the world. Months later, as the holidays approach, Sarah finds herself walking through the same grocery store where the life-changing encounter took place. She's now used to the flow of life, helping her neighbors, being more patient with her children, and practicing kindness every day. Her outlook on life has shifted, and she feels a deep sense of peace knowing that she's contributing to the positive energy Keanu's small gesture started. On this particular visit, she's walking through the aisles, picking up items for a community dinner she's organizing. She's no longer a woman weighed down by worry, but a mother and a friend with a renewed sense of purpose. As she rounds the corner to the checkout, her heart nearly stops when she sees him standing there, near the same register. Keanu Reeves. It's him. Standing right in front of her, looking exactly the same as he did that fateful day, calm and composed, choosing a few items. For a moment, Sarah stands frozen in place, her heart racing. She hadn't expected to see him here, especially not after everything that had happened. But there he is, no entourage, no fanfare, just Keanu as down-to-earth as ever. For a moment, Sarah considers walking past without saying anything, but then something inside her shifts. This is the moment she's been waiting for. The moment to say thank you, to express the gratitude that has been building up inside her for so long. She takes a deep breath and walks toward him, a little nervous but determined. Keanu, who has noticed her approach, gives her a soft smile, recognizing her instantly. He doesn't seem surprised to see her. He simply acknowledges her with a nod, his eyes warm and welcoming. "Keanu," Sarah says, her voice a little shaky but full of sincerity. "I don't know if you remember me, but I'm the woman you helped that day in the grocery store. You changed everything for me. I just wanted to thank you." Keanu's expression softens as he listens. Of course, I remember you, he replies, his voice kind and genuine. I'm glad I could help. I hope things have gotten better for you. Tears well up in Sarah's eyes as she nods, trying to keep her composure. You didn't just help me in that moment. You changed my whole outlook on life. I've been paying it forward ever since. I've learned so much from that one act of kindness. You reminded me that there's more good in the world than I realized. Keanu smiles, his eyes showing a deep, unspoken understanding. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes it's the smallest gestures that can make the biggest difference. For a moment, they stand there, exchanging a quiet bond of understanding. Two people connected not just by a random act of kindness, but by a shared appreciation for humanity. Sarah can't help but smile, feeling a sense of peace that she never expected to find. I just wanted to let you know that your actions didn't just help me. They've inspired so many people. I'm doing things I never thought I could, and it's because of what you did for me. Keanu's gaze deepens, and he simply nods. I'm happy to hear that. You're the one who made the choice to change. I just happened to be there. His humility shines through, as always. He truly believes the change came from her strength, not his gesture. They exchange a few more words, and before parting ways, Keanu gives her a kind nod, a look that says everything without speaking another word. As Sarah watches him leave, she feels a sense of closure, a deep, unspoken understanding that Keanu's kindness wasn't just about the groceries, but about showing up in the world with empathy, humility, and heart. As she continues to navigate her own journey of kindness, she realizes that this chance encounter wasn't just a reunion. It was another reminder of how far a small act of kindness can go. And now she's not just paying it forward to others, she's passing on the legacy that Keanu unintentionally sparked, creating a cycle of compassion and understanding that will continue to grow long after the moment fades from memory. The ripple of kindness, it seems, has no end.